Good morning, this is Ardena with a special on-the-ground report from Capitol Hill. I'm currently in the company of Representative Walter Jones of the 3rd District of North Carolina, and thank you.
Ardena, glad to be on your show today.
Sure. Well, very soon you'll be heading over to a press conference in which you will be discussing the prospects of bringing our troops home from Afghanistan. This is also the eve of the 10th year anniversary of our war in Afghanistan.
Right.
Just say something about what you're doing.
Well, Ardena, it's going to be a bipartisan news conference. Obviously, I'm a Republican, but Jim McGovern, Democrat from Massachusetts, is a good friend of mine. And over a year ago, we started to push the Congress, so let's get our troops home from Afghanistan. So this news conference today is exactly what you said, is to remind Congress and the American people that on Friday, 10 years ago, we committed our troops to Afghanistan. We are still there. Nothing has really changed. Now, let me rephrase that. Bin Laden is dead now, and Al-Qaeda has dispersed all over the country. So the fight now is with the Taliban, who basically are Afghans. And we're not going to change anything. Our kids have had victory after victory, and we're trying to spend $10 billion a month to prop up President Karzai, who is a corrupt leader, and we can't even account for the $10 billion. It's taxpayers' money, and we can't even audit the books in Afghanistan. And the important thing is, our troops are worn out. They're tired. Suicide rates are up. Divorce is up. And why can't we wake up as a country and demand from the Congress and the President of the United States to not wait to 2014 or 2015 to start bringing the troops out? Let's bring them home now within the next year.
That's your timetable for the next year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have Camp Lejeune Marine Base in my district, Cherry Point Marine Air Station, and I can honestly tell you, the Marines are tired. They don't know what the end point is. If you don't know what the end point is, you have no strategy. It just goes on and on and on.
Right.
And I hope that people watching this interview with you today, Ardena, hope they will pick up the phone, call their member of Congress, House and Senate, and the White House and say, bring them home. We're not going to let you wait until 2015. It's not fair to the young men and women.
Great. I just have a follow-up question on that. Now, some retired U.S. military personnel, as well as Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, have called for a regional security conference in the South Asia, Central Asia region to include the United States, Russia, China, India, Pakistan, Iran, for the purpose of establishing a security, cooperative development perspective for Afghanistan. Following the immediate withdrawal of U.S. military personnel. What do you think of such an idea?
I don't think it will work, quite frankly. I think that I have a former Marine general who's been my advisor for 21 months. I'm not at liberty to say his name. That's an agreement I have with him. And for 21 months, he keeps saying, why hasn't America learned history? No country, no individual has ever changed Afghanistan, and we're not going to. And yet, in this country today, the Congress is debating cutting programs for children and seniors so we can prop up Karzai so we can buy more robes and these cute little hats he wears around. And I just think the American people, just like the military, we are fed up and tired. And again, I hope those watching this interview with you will pick up the phone and call Congress and the White House and say, bring them home, bring them home.
Okay, well, that brings me to my next question. You're also the co-sponsor of another very important bill, which was originally introduced by Representative Marcy Kaptur, the 1489 Glass-Steagall bill. I was told recently that the former Prime Minister of France, Michel Rocard, just penned an op-ed, a full-page op-ed, calling for the implementation of Glass-Steagall in France, calling on the UN, actually, to have a special Emergency Security Council meeting calling on the implementation of Glass-Steagall. And that sentiment has been echoed in various places across Europe. And Europe is really looking to what's happening here in the United States and saying that the United States should provide the leadership on that, leadership that you've been providing on a bill that is really growing in support almost by the hour these days. So say something about the importance of doing that. What do we need to do now to get this bill passed?
Well, Ardena, I have said many times that the two worst votes that I cast as a member of Congress, going into Iraq, which the intelligence was manipulated to send us into Iraq, and I should never have voted to give President Bush that authority to go send our troops into Iraq. And the second worst vote I ever made was the repeal of Glass-Steagall. All that did was to allow the banks to expand their interests, so to speak. After the Depression in the 30s, they passed the law, Glass-Steagall, to say to banks, you will do nothing but banking. And when we repealed Glass-Steagall, we allowed them to get into real estate, to get into insurance, to create these boutique-type investments, if I can say it that way. And we can see the problems the banks are in today. I didn't vote for the bailout of the banks. I think the big ones should have failed, but that's history now. The Congress did bail out the banks. And I think that if we're going to have a strong banking system, we must reinstate Glass-Steagall. And I want to thank my good friend, and she is my good friend, Marcy Kapturs from Ohio, for taking the lead. And I'm glad that I am one of the Republicans to join Marcy Kapturs. And there again, this is another issue, just like Afghanistan. The people watching this show should pick up the phone and call their member of Congress and tell him or her, you need to get on the bill to reinstate Glass-Steagall. I think you're right in your introduction that the interest is growing because we realize that the banking system needs to be curtailed. It is too swaps, derivatives, all these things. I mean, it's not sound banking. That's the problem.
Right.
We need to go back to sound banking in America.
Thank you for your active participation in championing this bill also that we intend to get passed. Now, my last question for you is simply that one of your colleagues recently, Ron Paul, called on the impeachment of President Barack Obama for his recent order of the murder of al-Awlaki. Now, a lot of other people say that there were a plethora of other reasons why we could have called on the impeachment of Obama prior to this, but just on this issue in particular, would you care to comment on that, please? Well,
I will comment on this. Ron Paul is a very dear friend of mine. He's my choice for the presidency of the United States. But he and I don't agree on everything. But let me clarify that. Ron is a true constitutionalist. Sometimes on the board we'll vote, it'll be 400 and some people, including myself, for something, one vote no, and it's Ron Paul. And if you ask Ron Paul, he'll tell you the Constitution doesn't provide for this. So now I want to go back to the point that you're speaking to. I agree with Ron Paul on this, that every American citizen, bad or good, has a right in the court system. And I think that's what Ron Paul is saying. I have not researched the issue as deeply as he has. But again, he believes in the Constitution, and he thinks if you're an American citizen, you can be the worst person in the world. You can be Charles Manson, but you have a right in the court system. And that's Ron's position, and I do support that. American citizens should have, but I don't know about the impeachment on this issue, but I do agree with Ron Paul that every American citizen, bad or good, they have their day in court.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Congressman.
Ardena, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.